What is going on, guys? You're listening to the HSP Podcast. I am Jeff Martin alongside my tag team partner, the trendsetter, Bryan Burga. And what a great episode we got for you today. This is a guy we've had on our radar for a while, wanted to get him on. And we want to thank WrestlePit for allowing us to connect with Breaux Keller. What's up, dude? How you doing today?
Great. Yeah, it was a pleasure to be here, guys. I couldn't echo those sentiments more. Happy that WrestlePit was able to make this happen. Nice. Well, I think this is their second show, up and coming program. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm happy to be here.
Before we start, let's just talk about WrestlePit, though. It is on Saturday, February 26th on FiteTV. Like you said, their second show in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Go check them out. It's at the Maverick, 120 South Whitfield Street. So tickets are still available. So go to social media at WrestlePit and get your tickets for that event. You will be on the card. Pretty good matchup there, triple threat with Jason Hotch, Matt Taven, and yourself, dude. We'll get to that in just a little bit, but man, how you doing, man? How's everything going for you right now? What's the landscape look like for you in the last couple of weeks, last few months, and how's your year going so far?
Busy. If I can narrow it down to one word, definitely busy, which is nice, right? Like that's how it should be. I'm grateful for a lot of the opportunities I've been getting, especially this past month. It's felt like a bit of a whirlwind. So last weekend, I actually got the opportunity to wrestle with Lance Archer on AEW, and then this weekend I have, like you said, we got Hotch and then Taven as well. Somebody I've been following for a while, especially with his Kingdom days back in Ring of Honor. So I'm very fortunate and grateful for these opportunities. And then Davey Richards here coming up in a few weeks as well. So the ball just keeps rolling, and I gotta say it's been exhausting, but worth every second of it. Between balancing the daytime job, balancing the gym, making sure I've got my family life locked down, my social life, and then of course leaving on the weekends and wrestling and training throughout the week. It's a lot, but this is what I signed up for, right?
No, you're right about that. And something I always tend to ask, performers, caliber level talent like yourself, is the same scenario. I mean, you just described it too. A huge list of things that you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to balance all these things at once. Like you're juggling 14 balls at the same time and trying to keep them up in
Yeah.
the air. But with that, though, have you been able to enjoy those moments? Because that's the thing. People very goal driven like yourself are always looking at that next thing and trying to one up themselves, right? Have you been enjoying that journey per se? I mean, looking back at everything you just mentioned, are you allowing yourself to do it, or are you going to worry about that later on when the time comes?
No, I mean, I think you nailed it on the head. Like, it's important to make sure, like, as these moments are happening, that you recognize it. And I know it's so tough in today's world where everybody's on their phones. Like, I literally am right now, where you want to like film everything, take pictures of this, like make sure you're staying up to speed on your social media, whatever it might be. But between all of that, it's so important to actually take that second, that pause from just the world around you and life, and actually, embrace what's happening. Because, like I mentioned, some of these matches that I've been having, like, even in those, the music hits, you go out. It's one thing to just kind of, I don't know, go into autopilot and, from the curtain to the ring and then back, drive home, you're done. But it's another thing, too, to actually take those pauses, really live in the moment, be one with the audience because they're paying tickets to watch you. That's money that they worked hard to get and put in their pockets. So you don't want to cheat them out of it. But then also, you're putting in all this effort. So make sure it's worth your while, because, I don't want to just look at a picture and be like, oh, yeah, that was cool. I want to actually feel it. I want to live it. I want to be a part of it, like in that moment. So, yeah, I think it's important to do. And that's something I try to be conscious of with all aspects of life. I mean, I'm literally sitting here now with my little puppy. You know what? I'll just show you quick. Come here, bud. Waking up. But this is my little guy who means like everything to me. So even on a daily basis, just it's taking time with him, playing with him. I just think it's so important to do.
And you definitely have those levels of normalcy. And just to follow up on what you just said too, it's like, of course, you said you want to enjoy it. That's what it's all about, with all the things you need to kind of put in a priority list and trying to make sure you accomplish them all. But for you, though, when you go through that curtain, what's the biggest pressure that you put on yourself? For yourself to put the performance you're capable of,
or to make sure that the audience walks away happy?
It's one of those things where I think one can actually reflect the other. So if I am making sure that I'm putting that pressure on myself to perform and do what I know I'm capable of course the audience then in turn is going to leave happy. At least that's the plan, right? Then they should get their money's worth out of it, or at least enjoy the experience. But to really narrow it down, to answer your question, I mean, without putting that pressure on myself, I could just go out there and, be lackadaisical or kind of go half speed, if you will, and really not give them, my full effort. And I think that cheats the people that are there, especially in attendance. Of course, you have like these pay-per-views now where people are paying subscriptions and whatnot as well. But especially with the people that are there, one trick I learned, actually, not even trick, but just lesson really. Tim Donst, him and I used to actually travel a good bit together. And he had mentioned one day where it was just like, hey, man, if there's one person in that audience that actually paid to see you and they wanted to come and meet you and see you, watch you wrestle, and everybody else could hate your guts, it doesn't matter. Like, you want to make sure you're performing for that one person. So if it's 11, it's 1,100. If it's 11,000 people in attendance, you want to make sure, you're giving it your best effort, because otherwise, like I said, you're just kind of cheating them out of it. And I know, for example, with me, if I'm going to go to a wrestling show or a concert or any sort of athletic event, whatever it might be, if you can tell, if it's noticeable that somebody's not giving their best effort, then it's like, all right, I just wasted my time and my money on this. So what am I even doing here?
Obviously, we can tell that you're giving this interview 100%, dude, because you can tell the passion that's coming out of talking about wrestling, talking about what you love. And so now I have like a ton of questions here because I know I'm going to get good answers here from our guest, Breaux Keller. So listen, so you started in 2016, right? 2022, so you're into your 6th year. And some wrestlers, it takes 10 years to get to a certain level. It takes 6 months, right? Mm-hmm. So you're at that level now. You're seeing yourself higher up on the card. You've done AEW Dark. I recall you seeing you in the tag team match with Santana and Ortiz.
Yeah,
and very impressive. So you're on, I would say, on a faster track than other people right now. So kudos to you, right? How do you look at it, and can you tell that there's a lot of people like interested in you, and you can see that that bright side that everyone's putting you on that top card? Can you see it yourself?
That's tricky to navigate because, I mean, there's definitely hints of it, right? Like, you have to be, to an extent, a little self-aware. Like, you can't just go out there and just, A, think, oh, everybody loves me, I'm hot stuff, or B, have zero confidence in yourself, and then you just kind of diminish off into existence. So there does need to be a balance there where it's like, all right, I'm not being egotistical, but I do understand that, my name carries some value. There's some weight to that. Or, I'm getting these opportunities, so I better take advantage of them. And, like, when the ball is given to you, you got to run with it. And yeah, like, I've been fortunate enough, like, I would honestly say lucky enough to get some of these opportunities. So I was on WWE once, just kind of coming out with The Miz and getting punched off the ring by Daniel Bryan, I guess I'll say, because that was his name there. Which was an unreal experience. Being in that stadium full of people and just seeing that around you is pretty incredible. But then most recently, getting a shot with AEW and, being in there with a legendary tag team. I don't think they get enough credit for everything they've done, all the experiences they've had in wrestling, all the influence that they've provided. Santana Ortiz, of course, is who I'm referencing. But yeah, it's definitely, it's been tricky to navigate because I think it's a challenge. I'm speaking for myself personally. When you do get these opportunities, or as your name does grow and you do start getting put into these different positions within the card, on different shows, with different companies, different titles, whatever it might be, it does come with a level of pressure. And the biggest challenge at this point now is making sure I'm living up to that, because I hold myself to a certain standard too, and you even alluded to it, just being really a competitor, having that competitive nature, because through college I played football and ran track, so having that background, I know what goes into, at least to an extent, in the athletic world, what it goes into being successful. And, when I get some of these matches or I get different opportunities with, certain promotions, then it's like, okay, I need to make sure that, I'm on my A game. I'm not slacking off. I'm really trying to give the best effort that I can. That way those opportunities compound and I start getting more and more and more. And then of course, everybody's end goal is to obviously be on TV. So anything I can do to make that happen, I'm going to make sure I'm doing.
And you're doing a great job of it, if I must say
hell yeah.
myself, too,
Hell
in
yeah,
terms
dude.
of all the work that you're putting in to do it. We recognize, I'm sure a lot of people recognize it too. They're going to see that coming this Saturday. But, what I wanted to ask you in terms of, what you just mentioned here, and Jeff brought up a great point too, in terms of recognizing, being self-aware of what's around you in terms of you're seeing your popularity increase, little by little, baby steps, you gotta walk before you can run, basically, right? But for you, the thing with pro wrestling or sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, though, is that a lot of people, I think, fail to understand that. I mean, they see the product, they see people on TV and think it just happens. There's such a huge learning curve in this field. And you said you did football and track, right? So for you at this stage in your career, from where you were beginning to where you are now, where you hope to go in the near future as you continually get better, right? Where do you feel your strengths are? And more importantly, where do you feel your weaknesses are that you want to improve on?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just start with the latter. My weakness is because, I kind of touched on it a minute ago, and I don't know, hopefully doesn't sound corny, but, putting that pressure on yourself, that's something that, especially this day and age, there's a lot of awareness on, anxiety, having the right mindset and that just mental capacity, whatever it might be, whatever people are going through. That's something that is so tricky to balance because our whole job is being in front of people. It's trying to put smiles on faces, or it's trying to make those ticket buyers have worth their while. And when you're doing that, there's a lot of energy that goes into it. But hey, I'm all energy, so it works out.
All energy. Yeah.
All energy all day.
All day.
Modern day 7-Eleven. You never
Right?
stop.
See, you guys get it.
So
No,
so my question on that point is, so here's the thing, right? Now you can access wrestling everywhere, dude, right? You can, off your phone, you have someone, record your match, and then you do a crazy spot, or it's a good quality match and you go viral, right? It's so simple to get, well, I don't want to say simple, right? But it's easier to get over, right? So for you, right? How do you ever step back, maybe talk to somebody that's wrestled maybe 20 years, but an old timer or a veteran in this, and you hear the stories and you're like, my God, I'm kind of lucky to be wrestling in this era, because social media is everywhere and you can get your matches out. It's not collecting tapes, not doing that kind of stuff. You ever hear stories and be like, man, I'm kind of lucky that I'm kind of, wrestling in this time period than back in the day where it's much easier to get your name out there?
Yeah, it's so tricky because I've seen both sides of the coin, right? So nowadays we have instant access to literally everything. You just put a GIF, however you say it, just put that online. It starts getting retweeted. It goes viral, like you said, and everybody has instant access to it, and it's right in front of them immediately. So in a sense, it's great that we have this leverage to really be on everybody's phone in front of everybody's eyes all at once. Whereas, back in the day, some of these wrestlers that, preceded us, they didn't have that luxury. So they had to, grind it out in a different way. I won't say it was easier or harder for anybody. It's just different with these different generations. But, with them, they had to make sure that it was a big size thing. If you weren't big enough, you didn't even get a chance. They would just, kick you right out the door. So if you have the size, boom, you can get in a ring, then you can get trained, and then maybe get on TV. And that's how they get noticed. But for us, smaller guys now have opportunities. There's seemingly infinite different indie promotions. So if you can get yourself, just on an open Saturday, go to a ring, if somebody's going to have you, boom, get the match filmed, get it on Twitter, whatever it's going to be, throw a meme together for that matter. And then you're viral, and then boom, the opportunities start appearing. So yeah, it's tough to say if one's definitely easier or tougher than the other, but I really just do think it's just a major difference at this point.
Speaking of the differences, though, when you look at in terms of where we talked about social media, we talked about ways of letting yourself be known. Like basically, social media is the modern day business card where you can, go viral, and then people from promotions, let's say in another country, would ask for your services and want you to be on their show. Great way. No longer, back in the days where I do tape trading, I'm like, wow, look at this. Oh my God, a VHS tape. Oh my God, the 1996 ECW, Hardcore Heaven. I love those VHSs, and I still have them. But when it comes to you and promoting yourself and going out there, because the thing is, in this world and anything you do, it's highly competitive, right? Same thing as pro wrestling, sports entertainment. What do you feel you bring to the table that separates you from the rest that can do things similar than you can, or are different in size, or different in speed, or different in technique in the ring? What do you bring to the table you feel separates you from everybody else?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question because, I mean, kind of like what you just said, there's so many of us now. It's almost, people could argue, the wrestling world is diluted at this point because there's so many promotions. And on top of that,
Don't ever say that. Don't ever say, you know what? Because back during the
you
Monday
argue-
Wars and WWE won it all, we had nothing. Now we have too much. So don't ever say that.
Oh man, that's great. But yeah, I mean, for me personally speaking, I think it's an overall package, right? So you get some guys in there that are super technical, that can really wrestle, and they're super good at that, but might not necessarily have the microphone skills or promotional skills, or be too savvy on social media. I know personally I'm not the best at that, but I am better than most at this point, I could say. But yeah, it's just a matter of dedicating my time and willingness to actually tweeting or putting stuff on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever it might be. So you get that aspect where it's like, I'm coming in there and I think I look like a professional. That's the biggest thing now. It's literally the first word of our title is professional wrestler. And you get some guys that, they just have tattered gear, or it's old gear, or, they're not the cleanliest. Or they're not in the gym putting in that extra effort and that extra work because, there's so much that goes behind the scenes, whether it's being in the gym and lifting weights, or if it's being in another gym, a barn, a backyard, whatever it might be, whoever has a ring, getting in there and practicing. So I like to say I look and act the part too, because I'm doing those extra things. I'm keeping my body in shape. I'm eating right. I'm trying to get sleep at night. And, I come to the building, the venue, whatever it might be. And I'm not rocking sweatpants or, just some grungy clothes. I'm trying to be a professional because that's the old expression, right? Dress for the job you want, not the job you have. So, in that, not just when I'm walking into the building with, but when I go to the ring, I'm trying to wear new, good looking gear as well. So I think there's multiple aspects to it. And then once I'm in the ring, I just bring a lot of enthusiasm, like we said, energy, and just
all energy, baby.
Exactly. And just, that natural athletic ability that I've been, gracious enough to have and, been able to utilize in the ring.
We're talking here to Breaux Keller, man. He's got a big matchup, triple threat coming up against Matt Taven, Jason Hotch. Just checking down the boxes in a couple of weeks. You and Davey Richards, we'll get to that in just a little bit. That's another one you're definitely going to check off your box there. So, listen, there's wrestling everywhere. And you've wrestled on AEW Dark. You've been on that platform. Everyone talks about the camaraderie, the energy that goes backstage. A lot of people have their perception saying, oh, morale in WWE is low backstage. You, from witnessing just your surroundings in AEW, is it what everyone perceives it to be? Is it that business, but yet, everyone exchanging ideas, or everybody's just the morale is awesome. Everyone's good to talk to. How would you just say that the mood is in that locker room?
Mood's overall positive, and that was the initial takeaway. I mean, you walk in there and you're not somebody that's signed or actually an active roster member. So there is a bit of a hierarchy where you kind of know your place. Again, that self-awareness idea that we were talking about. So you're not necessarily all super buddy-buddy with every single person you walk past. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, everybody was kind. Everybody was generous. Thankfully, I do know a couple members on the roster, so I was at least able to say hi to them, catch up for a little bit. I will tell you a funny story, though, super quick, because I feel like it answers your question pretty well. So since it was my first time there, they had us taking pictures, and I was in my gear. And the photo area was right beside catering. So you get like pretty much the entire roster up there eating their lunch while I'm there in my underwear and my knee pads, just like flashing for the camera. And the locker room was quite literally on the exact opposite end of the arena from where I was. So I basically just said, like, hey, it's lunchtime. I know I'm in my gear, but I'm already here, so I'm going to eat. And I felt like such a buffoon walking around in my sparkly undies and my knee pads. And the best part was I sit down, a couple other indie wrestlers that were there with me. They were just goofing, making some comments about it, like, oh, look at this guy in his gear, blah, blah, blah. And out of nowhere, from the table behind us, Mark Henry just goes, hey, if anybody's got a problem with that, you send them my way. You look good, kid. And so I was like,
Wow.
all right, so if he's going to say that, then I feel good right now. Let's eat our food.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you walk around with confidence. I mean, first of all, you're hungry. And second of all, you don't have time to go back and change. So, hey, it is what it is. Make fun of the sparkly gear. Who cares? I'm going to eat something. So.
And it's typical Mark Henry, right? He's obviously like a locker room leader, and that's good, man. He's got your back, and then you can eat worry free, not worrying about what everyone else has got to say while you're doing that.
Exactly.
Awesome story, man. Thanks for sharing that. So, dude, I mean, AEW Dark, there's competition between WWE and AEW. So, like, how about this though? Like, what is your future goals? What does the future hold for you? Like, what are your plans? Where do you see yourself, or where do you want to see yourself in maybe say like 2023, 2024? Like, what's your goal? Because you're on a little bit of a fast track here. So, like, where do you see yourself?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm hoping to keep that fast track rolling. It's one of those things where you don't want to pigeonhole yourself and be like, oh, I want to be with this company, or I want to be with that company. My goal is really just to be on a national television, national broadcast, get out there, on TV, have a contract with any company that's up there, whether it be WWE or AEW, but then you can't disregard the impacts of the world, the New Japans of the world. You have all these options now, so it's like just keep expanding upon where I'm at, because it's you take this path, and when you first start out, there's little hope, because you see what it really takes to actually get to the next level, and then boom, oh, okay, I get this match under my belt, I get this match under my belt. And then you do hit that next level, and it just continues so on and so forth. So at this point, I've just been, happy to be where I've been on some of these larger independent promotions that are out there, whether it be, MCW, the Maryland Championship Wrestling, whether it be Beyond Wrestling, getting opportunities with them. I mean, it's just been so nice to actually have those chances. And then, at this point in time, it's building upon that. So I don't want to just, take a booking every weekend to do it. I want them to be meaningful. I want them to help me on this trajectory and continue to grow. And ideally, start working more and more with these larger promotions, or, just promotions that really seem to care and put effort into their product, like literally WrestlePit, what we're about to do. The card is absolutely stacked. So it's tough to disregard that and ignore that. I mean, I'm excited for my match myself, but heck, as a fan, I just want to watch all the other matches too. So, yeah, I mean, it's so tough to say in this sport, where I see myself or where I'm going, because it's all up in the air. I mean, I could literally get into an accident tomorrow and it's all taken away from me. So, ideally, I'm just going to keep focusing on where I'm at and keep getting better on all aspects and in every phase. And then, I think with doing so, it's just going to help me, grow and find a place, find a home, really, as I continue on this path.
You kind of hit the nail right on the head there in terms of, you said the key word in all of this that is the reason Jeff and I have been doing this, and we followed for so long and never kind of, I guess you could say, grew out of it. We're fans. Yeah. We're fans of this industry, fans of this business, as they call it, this sport, entertainment, and never grew out of it and appreciated it more, especially as we got older and started realizing certain things about it that you don't normally necessarily see. That being said, kayfabe is always such a huge thing, right? Where people are like, people don't want to, you have people who are very old school. They don't want to showcase too much. But at the same time, too, we live in a day and age where nobody's going to better promote yourself than yourself. So you're going to have to showcase a little bit of who you are. So it comes and goes. So you as a fan, I can safely assume, I think all of us were fans of pro wrestling, grew up as fans. you as a talent now in there, do you see it now with different eyes, with a different perspective? Meaning that before you saw how it was when you saw it on TV, how the production was all put together. Now that you see the behind the scenes and still a fan at heart, do you have a different perspective now, a different outlook of what you originally thought before you got into the industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting. It's like even the old adage when people say like, "Don't meet your hero," because everything, whether it be the person, whether it be the product, the promotion, it's always different from what you see in front of a camera versus behind the scenes, right? So, like, kind of being on this side of it at this point in time, it's been cool. It's almost been enlightening. I mean, as a kid growing up, you're watching it and you're just so invested in these characters, these guys, they're larger than life, these women as well, out there just tearing it up in the ring on a nightly basis. Um, but watching that on Monday nights or Thursday nights, whatever it was, Friday nights now, you don't necessarily understand all of the backstory that goes into it, how many shows they were doing on a weekly basis, monthly, yearly basis, how they had to balance having a life in the real world, having their life on TV, and then, trying to maintain and keep all of that together. It's just a whole different world. So I definitely have a new appreciation and respect for everybody that's been doing this for as long as they have. But then also, it makes you, I don't know, in a way, it adds to my fandom because, as I'll get away from kayfabe here, as we are putting matches together and whatnot, and you're trying to think, something creative, new ideas, new thoughts. You want to do it for the fans, right? So as a fan growing up, I would watch it and just be like, oh, that was cool. But now I can say, okay, what could I do to invoke that reaction? What could I do to actually get them excited out of their seat, cheering for me, or bad guy, if they're booing for me, it's been cool to see throughout the ride of actually being from one end now on the other and seeing how they kind of mesh together.
And they say don't meet your heroes, but I'm the exception to the rule. I met my hero a long time ago, Chris Jericho, and it was an amazing experience. I've met him more than several times, and I kid you not, every single time has been unique. It's been amazing. So, hey, you do have those scenarios, but I met my hero, and you know what? It did not disappoint.
You know what? I agree, though. That saying doesn't always translate. There's a lot of people that do have, great personalities. They're actually just wholesome humans. So, yeah, I don't always agree with that. But, yeah, in a sense, to answer your question, like sometimes just the idea of it really,
Transit, I'm looking at the card and the list of names that are going to be on this Saturday. I mean, you got Josh Woods going to be on the card, Lufisto, Matt Taven, the Savage Gentleman, LSG, Cheeseburger, TME, Marty the Moth, the main event. Lady Frost is going to be there. So definitely check that out on Saturday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, on FiteTV as well. And this guy here taking on Matt Taven and Jason Hotch, all energy, Breaux Keller, dude. One final one for me.
Where my money's on right now.
Exactly.
Love to hear
on our guest, of course.
I just don't like Matt Taven.
if I can get.
Not a lot of people like.
I've really enjoyed doing research on you and checking your matches on YouTube and stuff like that. And obviously, very, very talented wrestler, entertainer. I went and saw your matchup with Christian Casanova. And did you know that he had it when you fought him in the ring? Did you know he had that it factor, that he's already successful in NXT? But did you feel that he had something special? Because a lot of people are raving about him.
Yeah, there was legit no question. It was one of those things where, you meet the guy, boom, we start throwing ideas around. It was like, all right, he's literally what we were just saying. He's one of those good, wholesome dudes. And then, with every single match, everything you have sounds good on paper, right? And then that's one aspect of it. But then actually putting it into action and actually doing it live in front of the audience, that's a whole different ball game. And literally the second we got out there, there was just this level of comfort. You could tell he was so smooth with everything he did. He made it look effortless and easy. And I'll even admittingly say, like, that was not one of my better matches, but the way that he performs and the way he makes it seem like, he's not even trying, which is the best part, because, if you can make it look that easy, then, you've got the sky's the limit for you. So for him, yeah, it was one of those things where I don't want to say I was a psychic or had a crystal ball, but I do specifically remember saying, like, that dude's going places, like, as soon as we were done.
Look who's talking, Jeff, about going places right now. I mean,
Yeah, man. Eventually,
I can think of one person right now in this little box here that's going places, and he's right there, and he knows who he is. I don't need to say anything, but no, I gotta ask this one more thing before we let you go. I thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate
Thank you
it.
for your time, dude.
But the we're here at the cusp of a big event you're going to be part of now, and your career seems to be skyrocketing. Without a doubt in our minds, I'm sure a lot of people who admire and watch you in terms of what you do. But like, I joked about before, when we talked about in the beginning when we all had this discussion. It's like, it's amazing to think back the days, my glory days. I'll date myself, the Monday Night Wars. What an amazing time it was to be a fan. And now I can't imagine a time comparing it to then to now in terms of, this is probably one of the better times ever to be a fan or be a talent in pro wrestling. So from your perspective too, if we did this in the days where WCW closed doors and there's really nothing else out there but WWE, there were a lot of places where talent couldn't go anymore because everything was closed down. Now it just seems like it's an endless pool of places that you can go and hone your craft. Talk about the importance that is for a talent, for someone like you who's growing within this industry and discovering who you are, not only as a performer, but who you are as a person as well. How great is it to have all these avenues and all these people to work with to grow and become the person you ultimately want to become?
Yeah, it's tremendous. I mean, and to your point, you have all these different opportunities in front of you. It's just going to be a matter of, what do you want to put into it? I mean, with all of these different independent promotions there, it's like an endless list. And, if you want to hop in a car, if you want to take the time, get in there and drive, go to the whatever city, whatever town, whatever state it might be in, and just keep getting more and more pieces from everywhere that you can to kind of like put your puzzle together, because it's like you said, it's really understanding yourself, your character, who you are, who you want to be, really recognizing the mistakes you made in the past and learning from them, because a lot of people, they can be stubborn. And so I think that's definitely something that will lead you to shooting yourself in the foot, because if you're not necessarily listening to people or your peers around you, taking their advice, then you're just going to be complacent. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I strive to avoid is complacency, because at that point, I think once I do get to a level of complacency, then it's like, all right, I think I'm probably done with this now. And thankfully, at this point in time, I'm not complacent. I'm not tired of it. I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to pick up new tidbits. I'm trying to add or tweak this to my character, whatever it might be. Whether it's something in a promo, whether it's this little thing in the ring, we're talking about those moments, something between moves, whatever it might be. It's just really understanding who I am and where I'm going. And at this point, I don't think it really is like a full picture yet. And I think that's part of the fun of it, is just continually doing that and continually growing, because, once you do get to that point where you think, oh, all right, I think this is who I am, this is my character, I have a full understanding of it, then it's like, where do you go? What's next at that point? And then literally right around the corner is that level of complacency. So I think it really is just a matter of, continually growing and trying to learn more, making connections in the industry. That's been one thing that even with this, like, I've wrestled Savage Gentleman quite a few times, and we made a good connection through those. And he reached out and was like, hey, WrestlePit, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So that's what led us here. And I think it's even that on like on a bigger level, just be a good person, right? Yeah, there's so many layers to it and so many levels to it. Like, I don't know what's next, and I think I appreciate and value that I don't know what's next. It's keep making the best of every moment that I can, and then whatever does eventually come up next is just going to be bigger and better.
Man, WrestlePit will be turning up the heat this Saturday, February 26th in Pittsburgh, PA. Go on their social media, get the tickets are available. Definitely check this guy out. March 12th, he will be taking on Davey Richards in PA as well. Definitely look forward to that as well, man. I mean, you're just filling that list, man. You're checking off the names, dude. Awesome. Hopefully you have plans for Dallas, and hopefully you're booked for any of those shows too. We wish you the best, dude. We thank you for this, because when you make it, we can play this interview and be like, hey, we were one of the first to talk to Breaux Keller. So definitely thank you for that. And good luck, man. Best of luck. Like your story.
And for us at the High Spot Podcast, the Jersey Wrecking Crew, to you, man, we are so appreciative of your time. But more importantly, we're very appreciative of what you do. You make us enjoy wrestling by watching talent like you rise yourself up to the very top. And you know what? You're earning every single moment you get there. And we're just enjoying the ride, seeing you progress in this industry. So thank you so much for that, man.
Thank you guys, man. You're making me blush over here. So many times.
That's why they call me the trendsetter, man. I just have to, I connect with my guests. Like, you want to connect with the audience, I connect with them. You talk about complacency. This guy right here, over here, she learned your message. Yeah.
No, I appreciate it, guys. It was a pleasure being on here and chatting with you. I definitely enjoyed it.
Are you going to be around WrestleMania weekend at all, or no?
See, that's the part. So another thing that we didn't get too deep on, but it's like, in order for me to fund my wrestling addiction, I have to have like a real job during the day.
Yeah.
So my real job actually has me flying to Nashville. So I'm going to be in Nashville until Friday evening. It's like Wednesday to Friday. So I'm trying to at least get down. I've talked to a couple of promotions. We're trying to just kind of, work out the kinks. But I think Saturday I'm hoping to at least in the morning and afternoon get some shows under my belt.
Awesome, dude.